Let's compare Playwright to Cypress. I think it would be more fair comparison. AI dash is significant multiplier, but it can be multiplier of your good efforts and it can be multiplier of bad efforts. The main advantage of automation is allowing you to release your features to production faster. I think that future quality engineers will be not those who write Playwright code. And the next evolution with the rise of AI over the past year will be the tools where you don't write the code anymore, you write the prompt.
In this podcast, we have test automation expert Artem Bondar. He's a top-rated course creator on Udemy for tools like Playwright, Cypress, and the recent AI test automation tool, testRigor. First of all, Artem, can you tell a little bit about your career journey? Where did you start? How did you ended up creating your own academy and being a course creator?
I started in quality engineering in 2017, something like that. It's just automation and no, quality engineer, not officially automation engineer. And then a few months later, working on as a QA position, I was just boring, doing just manual work. And I started to pick up some automation with Selenium, created the layout for the framework of application that we were testing. It was AmericanAirlines.com. For that application, created the initial layout, showed to our team, and hey, let's automate some of our regression with this framework. The team was very excited. Oh, this stuff looks cool. And we all with the team started working on that framework. Eventually, in a couple of months, we automated the whole regression testing for us. And it was automated to the point that we even started doing some development. So we asked some work from developers like, hey guys, we don't have much stuff to do because everything is automated. Let's do something. So we even did some development on the real application. So it was fun. It was fun. And then later I moved to the other company. It was a fintech. There was also Selenium. And then when I joined my last company with Signify Health, they're like, hey, we're going to have Cypress. You need to automate the application with Cypress. I'm like, what is Cypress? Never heard about that. And this is a new tool. You'll figure this out. Here's the Udemy course. They bought me a Udemy course. There was just 3 courses in Udemy at that time. It was 2019, by the way. Yeah, so they bought the course and, hey, complete this course and then automate this application. And this is pretty much what I did. I quickly completed the course and then I started working on automation of the project. I'd done this in like about 3 months. And during that process of 3 months, I realized, first of all, I just fell in love with this framework. It's super cool. Compared to the Selenium, I was like, really? Is it so simple? Is it so much optimized than using the Selenium? So for me, at that time, it was completely clear that Selenium is dead. So it's just legacy at this point. Then when I figure out the Cypress inside out, and then I thought, I probably can create a better course than the one that exists on Udemy at that time. So I remind you, there was just 3 courses at that time related to the Cypress topic. And I just have fun, decided to lay down the curriculum, started the recording, and it took me about 4.5 months of recording this course. Early morning so it's before the COVID, so we had to go to the office, right? So I had to work in the morning hours before I go to the office. And after the office hours, I come back home and was recording those lectures, preparing the scripts and that stuff. So 4.5 months later, I released the course and it went really well. And since that time, it's still a bestseller on Udemy. Even right now, there are like 30 courses or something. I trying to keep that course up to date as much as I can. And still that course has a bunch of students every month and still a bestseller course in the Cypress category.
I can shout out for the rating of the course because when I usually picking the course on Udemy, I'm checking the ratings and based like higher rating and number of reviews, right? So
Right.
it's very hard to find a good course which is higher than 4.5 stars rating and like more than 1,000 of reviews. For Cypress, I see right now you have 4.7 star review with 8,600 number of reviews, which
Yeah,
is very
quite a
impressive.
lot. Quite a
It's
lot.
very impressive. And first of all, I took your course myself. I do really like it. Like the way how you present it, it's very straightforward. No, straightforward to the point, basically. No fluff. Kudos for that. And tell a little bit about the next course, the Playwright that you rolled out.
The next one was actually not a Playwright. So the next one was the other framework. It's for API testing called Karate. So the
Mhm.
reason why I created that course is just because I also used this tool in the company where I worked. And also there was zero courses on Udemy about this tool at all. And I thought it's gonna be pretty simple. It will not be that long and that extensive because the tool is fairly simple. So in about 3 months or so, I created the second course. And yeah, and after that, there was a long pause. So there was two courses released in 2020. Cypress was early 2020, then in September was the karate, and then I didn't do anything. So I had just two courses. I did my normal job, work into the company, and that normal stuff. I didn't have any kind of inspiration or any ideas of doing something else. And I noticed that Playwright started getting attraction. So it's something like 2021, about 2022. I noticed that, hey, there is a new player on the market. It's Playwright. And I was keeping an eye on that guy. And then it was, I think, April last year, April 2023. I see that is getting more and more popular. And also my students, my Cypress students, some of them wrote me, "Hey, Artem, can you create a course for the Playwright? Because our company is starting to onboarding this tool and we're looking for some course and it would be nice if you could create one." So I received several requests like that. And I thought that probably means something. And I decided to work on that course as well. So I started working on it in April, I think, or in May. In April, I started on curriculum. It took me about 1.5 months to build the curriculum for the course, and then 3 months to record it. So it's the longest course that I have so far compared to the Cypress. Cypress, pretty long one. That one even more extensive. And in September last year, I released the course. Yeah, and it was just the right timing. It was perfect timing for the release because Cypress blocked their access to the free dashboards to run parallel tests. So limited only to use Cypress Cloud. Companies started massive migration from Cypress to Playwright because of that. It's one of the reasons, of course. And also you can go to NPM trends and see the growth of popularity of the Playwright versus Cypress. And you clearly see that September last year, that was a pivot point when the Playwright started to get attraction. And the release was just in time. And right now, the Playwright is for sure the bestseller on the Udemy highest rated. And I have, I don't know, more than 1,000 students every month enrolling in the Playwright course on Udemy.
I just checked that it has 4.8 star review with a 2,800 of number of reviews, which is very impressive for this period of time.
Yeah, for just a little over a year. Yeah. Not over. Oh, hold on. Not a year. So it's going
Less
to be
less
next
than
month. So
wow,
yeah, almost a year.
within a year. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Artem, like, okay,
Right.
you rolled out the Playwright. When did you start your academy?
So it was a kind of a next step, a continuation of what I was doing before, because I work with students, questions and answers on Udemy a lot. So I'm getting a bunch of questions every day. And I noticed that, so if the goal is to really learn the tool, it's not enough to just watch the video and repeat after the video, just copy pasting the code what on the screen. When you copy pasting the code, just blindly retyping what on the screen, you don't learn technically anything.
Yeah.
And there are so many blind spots left after the video. So you watch the video, you have a false feeling that you understood the topic, that you know what you have to do. But when you open the blank screen and try to write your first own line of code, it's just silence. You cannot make that first step, and you don't really know what to do when you need to automate something different, something that you didn't see in the course. And that's the barrier that I want to cross technically with the new approach. And I decided, okay, what I can do differently to make the education process more efficient and more result oriented, not just watch the video and repeat the code. So I added the element of real practice to the education process, because the practice is essentially the way how you learn. If you do not practice the knowledge that you obtained, that practice becomes just rumors. You forget what you learn in a week, and you will not be able to write a single line of code in a week or two. Udemy is the platform that lets you just, okay, upload the videos and show the videos to the others. I need something more than that. And I started doing my research, okay, where and how I can make this possible, that idea that I envisioned. And the only way was to create my own platform. And this is what I did. And so the approach that I do on my platform at Bondar Academy is exactly focused on the practice. So that's the key. So you watch the video is the easiest part. The next harder part is to complete the quiz with questions and answers that you validate yourself. Did you pay enough attention during the video, and did you get everything what you had to learn during the video from theoretical part of this scope, from the knowledge? And if you complete the quiz successfully, then you go to the practice assignment. And that's the core of the success. So for the practice assignment, you will have to automate on the Playwright. So currently there are two courses, and we talk about the second one. So the Playwright, you will have to automate the provided test case. This test case is for the completely separate test application. It's not the application that's shown in the class. It's a completely new application. You have to start from scratch, just from the blank screen. You have the test case, what you have to be automated. You have the application that have to be automated, and you just go. And then when you complete that test case scenario, you send this code to my code review. So you send it, create a pull request on the GitHub, the way how you would normally do it in the company. So when you come and join the company and work with the code, you not just write the automation on your computer only. No, you contribute to the repository, you work with the team, you commit your changes, you request the review of your code, the senior person, senior lead and engineer review your code, provide you feedback, then you make the adjustments before your code is merged into the main or master branch. This is exactly what I do over here. So the students have to automate the test case, create the pull request. Then I check that pull request, provide my comments, and actually you learn tons of stuff from these comments. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I want to share one interesting case that just happened like a couple of weeks. One of my students completed the homework assignment for the web tables, how to automate web tables. And he sent me the file of 500 lines of code, like 500 lines. It was working. So from one perspective, yeah, he did the stuff. It was working, but it was super inefficient. So after the initial code review, we just cut the half of that. So it was 500 lines reduced to 250 lines of code. It was the first round of code review. The next round was a little bit less, and then the final result was just a little less than 200 lines of code to automate 6 test cases. This is what the power of the code review. So from his perspective, he thought that he is successful. He automated the test case. It is working, and everything looks fine. But only when you get the feedback, you realize that, oh, something can be done better, more efficient, using best practices, and so on and so forth. So this is what I do at Bondar Academy with this education approach.
That's awesome. Let's put the link in the description down below how people can find you and can enroll. In Bondar Academy, do you cover what tools do you cover?
So currently I have the course which is As That with Playwright, and I called it As That with Playwright because it's not just watch the videos and repeat. When you complete the course, you'll have the level of the skills for the senior developer engineering test. I'm super confident. So when you go to till the end and complete all the lesson and all the homework assignments and pass all my code reviews, which is, trust me, not very easy, you will have the level of the skills of senior developer engineer in test with the Playwright. So you will be confidently go to the job interview and just crash those interviews for the Playwright. So I optimized the Udemy course on the Playwright for this new approach. So technically, the videos are the same as in Udemy, but the practical part is different. And the second course, it's just fresh, hot off press, is a Master in testRigor course. For those who don't know, testRigor is also test automation framework, but it is a different kind of frameworks, I would say. So this is no code or codeless automation framework powered by generative AI. When you interact with your test application, not through the scripting of the code on JavaScript, TypeScript, you interact with your test application through the command prompts. So you write the prompts, what you want to be achieved, which steps have to be automated and executed. You write those prompts, and then testRigor perform this automation. For me, it is a new step, I would say, new experiment in the area of education, because before that, I touched all open source coding framework, the most popular in the market, like Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, and so on. But this is a kind of a new step because I understand that AI is here to stay. Companies paying attention to those new tools. And I cover with the testRigor, I covered that new area. And what's interesting, I have found out with that. Before I created the course, I was a little bit skeptical about non-coding automation frameworks. A little, it doesn't have a normal script and can't do much stuff. It's limited for sure. It's limited for sure. If you don't have that flexibility of do Wild West in your code, it's limited. But then when I created the course and completed and figured out all the features of the framework and so on, and I'm like, I liked it actually. You don't need that too much flexibility that you may have in Cypress or Playwright. By the way, about flexibility, that's one thing that I want to point out. Yeah, that's the second framework. We can talk about it a little bit later. Let me touch about flexibility real quick.
Yeah.
So what I mean, recently I made a post on LinkedIn that I mentioned like Playwright is a kind of very sharp tool like a Swiss knife that you can either create a masterpiece with it or you can create a real damage to yourself, your project, and so on. So why? Playwright is, let's compare Playwright to Cypress. I think it would be more fair comparison. All right. So we can compare Cypress and Playwright as iOS and Android, something like that. So for better understanding of metaphors, right? So iOS naturally is a little bit more restrictive. Apple tells developers how they're supposed to develop their applications, what kind of design they should use, what kind of tooling they should use, what design pattern we should use, what kind of buttons they should use, interfaces, and so on, right? And that's why when you use iOS applications on the iPhone, they have the similar design flows, user flows, functionalities, and so on. With Android, it's like Wild West. You can do whatever you want on Android, do whatever size and forms and buttons and flows and anything you even imagine. So that's a good example, Cypress and Playwright. So I like Cypress still, even Playwright outpace Cypress in many categories. I still like Cypress because it's a little bit more restrictive. Because it does not let you go too much sideways on how things can be done. You still have enough flexibility, but it's limited. I can give you an example. Cypress has just 3 methods to find web elements. In Playwright, you have about 6 or 7 methods, I don't remember, how to find web elements. And you can pass locator directly into the action command. This is another extra method. So you have different options. From one perspective, yeah, cool, I can do stuff however I like. But in reality, we are dealing with the average level engineers. And average level engineers not always can safely use this flexibility, creating a mess in the framework. And if no one supervises the engineer with more senior skills and understanding of architecture and all those best practices, then building the test automation can easily become a mess down the road. That's why I like Cypress a little bit more for the cleaner scripting approach. Even still, it's using the cleaner approach. Yeah.
So follow-up question here.
Go ahead.
Cypress Playwright, right? When would you then recommend to use Cypress? In what cases? And for example, for the companies who just started the automation, right? And actually, should they go with those tools still? When you have a so in what cases you should go with a Playwright, Cypress, or maybe something else?
So let me talk about few limitations that Cypress clearly have that Playwright doesn't have. So limitation number one, you cannot, so if your application has multiple tabs in the browser, which you need to handle, click on the button, new tab open. Cypress cannot handle it and will never be able to, because just architecturally how Cypress is designed. Second thing is Cypress does not have native support of iframes. You still can automate iframes in Cypress, but according to my experience, it sometimes doesn't work exactly how you want it to work. Sometimes not that stable. So Playwright handles iframes significantly better, more stable. Visual testing. If you need visual testing, Playwright has built-in perfect visual testing solutions. Cypress does not have those. You can extend this with plugins, but still, it's not a native support. If you need visual testing, and you don't want to pay some extra or deal with open source tools, Playwright has a better choice. And the last thing is the parallel execution, which is a kicker here, because Cypress is not free open source. It's open source, I would say, because you can use Cypress for free, but if you want to run your tests in parallel, you have to pay to Cypress for their Cypress cloud. As I mentioned earlier, before September 2023, you could use Cypress with free open source tool called Sorry Cypress. You can deploy it locally in your own server and run tests in parallel for free. It's not the case anymore, and that is can be a deal breaker. So that's pretty much main four thing. So I would say this: if you, a new company, new startup or something, if running tests in parallel is not a big deal, if you have, let's say, I don't know, 20 tests, right? 20, 30 tests, not much, and you can run in a single threaded way, and it's not a big deal if it runs 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, not a big deal. So you can use single thread in Cypress. You don't have iframes, you don't have new tabs, so you have a modern single page application, for example. Cypress is a good tool because it's easier and faster to script than in Playwright. You will make less mistakes. It will be just cleaner code and faster approach. I like it. I like it, seriously. For all other cases, when you need scale, when you need parallel, you need that too much flexibility, and what's more important, you have really knowledgeable automation engineers, which is hard to find, actually. We will talk about it later. Then Playwright is a good choice. Playwright is a good choice.
And learning curve for Playwright, as you just mentioned, is going to be longer, right? Compared to Cypress?
A little bit, yeah. Playwright has some other extra features such as fixtures, different projects handling, different stuff. I would not say that much difficult, much more steeper learning curve compared to the Cypress, about the same. What's one more thing, by the way, a Playwright, if you transition in from Selenium, let's say, so you have a Selenium experience, to transition either Cypress or Playwright will look for you more natural. How would you normally script with Selenium and any other language? Cypress has just couple of specifics related to how the framework designed. It has asynchronous nature built into that framework. And those couple of things, such as yielding the subject of the command and how to deal with variables, those two things need to just understand how it works in Cypress. And once you get it, you will not be confused. But initially, when you start using Cypress, you try to, for example, assign locator to the constant.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work like that in Cypress. You try to return some variable from the method assigned to the field, for example, and reuse it somewhere else. It doesn't work like that in Cypress. And those kind of things may be confusing for the people who just transition straight from Selenium to Cypress. In Playwright, it will not happen because it has more traditional just coding stuff. And by the way, speaking of coding, I feel like Cypress was created by testers and Playwright was created by developers. You know why? Because Cypress has a absolutely fantastic documentation, the best in the industry compared to the Playwright. And also because Cypress, the way Cypress organized, they hide all needed, not needed noise from the person, leaving you only scripting of your code. While in Playwright, you need to manage the page fixture, similarly like you would do with Selenium with the WebDriver instance. You need to put async await everywhere, making sure you will not forget to put it somewhere where not needed or needed, and all that stuff. In Cypress, you don't need to care about it. Playwright has 6 different types of waits. Why? Why do you need all that? Cypress has just 1 or 2 maybe. Simple, much more simpler. Cypress created for testers. Playwright created more for created by developers.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion. I don't know that for sure, but just my opinion.
And another point that for Cypress, it supports the JavaScript, TypeScript as well.
Yeah, both you can do
Both, right?
but nothing else.
Playwright, I believe it's same JavaScript, TypeScript plus. I think they also support Java.
Java, C#, and Python.
Java, C#, and Python.
Yeah.
Pretty much like Selenium.
Yeah, but original API of Playwright is written in Node.js. So when you use, for example, Python, it just interacts with the API that runs on Node.js. But someone who is listening us right now and thinking which language to choose if you decide to go with Playwright, I recommend go with TypeScript. Even if you have experience with Java or C# or Python, just go with TypeScript. TypeScript has natural good integration with this framework. You will absolutely not have any issues. Documentation by default of the Playwright is in TypeScript. Community support better in TypeScript. And also JavaScript is a native language for the browser. If you automate browser, work on that language which is native for the browser, which is JavaScript or TypeScript. So just an advice.
Makes sense. Let's shift the gears with AI stuff right now. What is happening? And I'm pretty sure a lot of engineers right now are using AI additional tools, ChatGPT,
GPT, Copilot.
Copilot. What is your thoughts about it? What would you recommend? And personally, I'm using as well.
Me too.
It's speed up the process for sure. But I know, give me your thoughts when you should use it and how.
I think every engineer should use help of the AI in any form, but you need to understand how you can leverage right, because there are cases when it can only harm and confuse and do not really good stuff for your project. I can tell that me as an instructor with growth of AI, I have a kind of more work with my students, with some of students who use AI during their education to unwind the spaghetti macaroni in their code confused by AI. So when I get the question, so my favorite type of question is this: hey, Artem, I have this kind of problem. This is the error I have. I have Googled everything, and I even tried, and I even asked ChatGPT, and it was not able to answer. So I like that one, the last one. I even asked ChatGPT. So with this statement, person thinks that ChatGPT is the ultimate source of truth. That even if ChatGPT was not able to help me, then it's over. The world is crashing. But what people don't realize that ChatGPT is you have to be as cautious as possible about the responses from the AI, such as ChatGPT and other ones. Why? Because ChatGPT will never tell you that, I don't know, or I'm not sure. ChatGPT will always give you the answer, this is truth, even if it doesn't know for sure. Because all AI work on just the most probable answer, the probability of the right answer. That's all they know. This is how large language models works. And if your context or question, or you did not provide enough context to your question, is too complex, AI will give you the response that sounds like a truth, but which is not. And if you don't have enough experience with the subject which you are asking about, it's very easy to miss this wrong answer. And then when you ask the next question on the top of that wrong answer, you eventually go into the rabbit hole of the false solution. And that's the danger about that stuff. So when you work with ChatGPT or any AI, you have to enable your critical thinking and examine each question, push each answer through your own critical thinking. Is it true or not? And you know what happened if you notice that the ChatGPT gave you the wrong answer? You're like, hey, this is incorrect. The ChatGPT, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. And when it gave you another answer, you said, no, dude, this is incorrect. Oh, really? Thank you for correcting me. You are. But what if you not notice this? You will be fooled by this answer. And if you don't know the subject well, then it's a disaster. My advice number one is, okay, if you use ChatGPT or any other tools, keep your attentions and I would not say consciousness, but critical thinking enabled for every answer. And if you're not sure about the answer, if you're not sure, just go to the Google, Reddit, Stack Overflow. Real people will give you more credible answers than ChatGPT. But I would like to talk about the cool stuff, because AI is a significant multiplier. Let's talk about this. AI dash is significant multiplier, but it can be multiplier of your good efforts and it can be multiplier of bad efforts. If you know your stuff, if, for example, framework that you're working with, AI can really boost your productivity, like by a lot. You can write your tests faster, you can debug your tests faster, you can deliver faster result. But if you don't know your stuff well, if you don't know how framework works, if you never open best practices page for any of the frameworks, Cypress or Playwright, and think that best practices is like for weak people, I know how to do the stuff. If you ignore all that, then AI will be multiplier of your problems. You introduce the problem, AI multiplies this, and you're just going down to the rabbit hole. Eventually, it will catch you in the situation when you have like a pile of code like that, and you will not be able to figure out how unwind those things and how to fix it and how to find the problem. You will need eventually someone with experience to help you delete what is not needed, clear out some stuff which is not relevant, and just leave in what is necessary for your application to work. So absolutely use AI. Absolutely use it. Learn how to use it. Try different AIs. For example, I use ChatGPT and Claude AI. I use two of them right now. I like both of them. I more use Claude AI than ChatGPT recently, just because of the better interface, in my opinion, more convenient. But just enable your critical thinking all the time and think what information it provides you as output.
I can tell my personal experience when I started using Playwright back then. Actually, I started using Playwright once they rolled out the GPT-3, like
Mm-hmm.
the first one. And that was like, but yeah, I had to use with documentation. Documentation. So I would say documentation would be number one. I would go first. And then I would compare with prompt, not prompt, the answers that you ask to ChatGPT. And you just said a lot of times, if you especially prompting very vague or very, oh, this doesn't work, and you paste something, most likely it will give you generic answer,
Right.
and sometimes it's alternative, or it's not even like you just said, it's not what really the reason. And I think you especially for new people who learning automation, they should not rely on AI. They should rely first on documentation. I think this is number one skill
Yeah, I
for
guess.
any engineers. They need to know how to read the documentation. That's a painful process.
Yeah, documentation is your friend, is your number one thing. So if you have any questions, first instance where you go is to documentation, the first thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Every documentation right now, Cypress, Playwright, any framework, they have a nice search bar over
yeah.
there. You don't need manually. You just type in the search, the keyword that you are looking for. You quickly find the reference points in documentation, then deeper dive into that, and you will understand the basics. So what is important in when you learn a new tool, don't rely on ChatGPT to learn new stuff. Don't do this, because you can't be fooled by the concepts that you can be presented, especially if you did not provide enough quality context to the AI, so it will give you the good resourceful output. Learn your stuff first very well, inside out, understand the basics knowledge, the basics best practices, how the things actually work. And then when you got it, leverage API, leverage AI to boost your productivity. Then this combination is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. And also, I like to use prompting or AI tools for getting the outlines or getting the high level stuff, right? Instead of copy pasting or instead of writing obvious stuff myself. Obvious stuff, I would say that would be the best things to rely on with ChatGPT. But
Right.
yeah, if you want to get some specifics, you better learn yourself with the documentation.
Yeah, I pretty not often, but I can unmistakably catch the moment when my students use ChatGPT or not. So when they send me some code review and I see, okay, this is the person wrote, and then I see some fluff. And I'm like, be honest, did you write
Yeah,
it or
yeah,
ChatGPT? ChatGPT. All right, so I'm fine with that unless you understand what is going on in line number 53. If you understand with this solution, I'm fine. Use ChatGPT and use this solution. I'm all right with that. But you need to understand what is it doing.
Okay, let's switch the gears. Definitely using AI with to learn tools, to learn new technologies. It simplifies a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
AI here to stay.
yeah,
AI
yeah,
here to stay.
yeah,
So it's for us, for engineers, is to learn how to use it efficiently for our productivity. That's it. So
yeah.
everybody have to use AI.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But what do you say with the new tools, low code, no code? Is it
Mhm.
alternative? Is it better alternative, or what do you think? Compare, let's say, engineer learning Playwright or
Mhm.
Cypress using ChatGPT
Mhm.
or using the new low code, no code tools.
Mhm.
I think this question would be for managers probably, for
Yeah.
right, not for engineers. Engineers
Not
they take it to what requires,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's more for managers. And it's, by the way, you brought a good topic from whose point of view look at the situation,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I would like to start with this. When I was thinking about our call today, I was thinking how companies are why companies decide to go with automation in the first place. So let's talk about it. When I started my career as automation engineer, the main narrative was this, that we need automation to automate our regression so we save time on manual work, so we can use less engineers to automate the same stuff. So we save cost on the headcount of quality engineers. So in other words, we had 5 engineers, 7 engineers, manual QAs. Now we can have 2 automation engineers, 2 manual, 4 people total. Half of the work automated, we need less people. This was the main legend, I would call it.
Yeah.
But in today's world, it's not actually a truth. So companies was trying to calculate that ROI, how automation will be profitable for them, how much money they can be able to save. But it's actually not true. If you think about it, automation is expensive. Having automation is expensive for various reasons. First of all, you need engineers who will do it. Automation, good engineers who know automation tools, Playwright, Cypress, Selenium, whatever, they have a significantly higher cost on the market. And to find a really good engineer, you will pay the same salary as, I think the market better than me, but most likely about the same as developers' salary.
Yeah.
From the salary perspective.
Sometimes it's even higher.
It's even higher, exactly, because this is a very niche specialist that is not developer, but with the high development skills, knowing of architecture, different systems, integrations, and blah, 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 and so on. What you need to write, for example, Playwright. Playwright is open source. Fine, it's free, but it's not that easy. You will need a super expensive person who will use this framework for your company, right? You will also need eventually manage the infrastructure while you run your tests in parallel. It's also cost money because you can't run your tests just on your computer running in parallel. And so what I'm talking about? I'm talking about that companies are willing to pay a higher ticket for what? For a higher price for what? For faster release. For lower lead time. So what automation, the main advantage of automation is allowing you to release your features to production faster, to deliver new functionality to your customers faster. That's the main purpose of automation. And it's not about saving the cost. Automation is expensive, and large automation projects are extremely expensive. But that expense may make sense for the company if they want to release every day to production like that. Because 10 years ago, we were in waterfall. Right now, we are in super rapid agile development when we can make few releases per day. It's easy for the big companies and the projects. So cost, right? So we talk about the cost. We know managers should know automation is expensive, A. So managers should know that they should expect to spend more money on the testing if they want to release faster. So they need to allocate budget for experienced automation engineer, find those, and somehow control the quality of those frameworks. So eventually, in 2 years, that engineer go to other company, the new one comes and say, it all doesn't work, we start from scratch. And 2 years of work that was invested in the previous framework, someone started, oh, guys, you used Selenium. The problem of your automation is Selenium. Now we rebuild everything in the Playwright and we're going to be happy. And you know that cycle repeats in company again and again. 2 years later, that engineer goes to other company, the new one comes. No, Playwright is not for you. We need Cypress. We will rebuild everything in Cypress. And this repeats the whole thing again and again. So what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the manager who need to spend money on expensive engineers and how this makes scalable and work. And then you start to look in no-code tools. Why? Because the training curve for the engineer to use a low-code, no-code tools is significantly easier. So you can pick up your engineering team, quality engineers, who know their application. So knowing the context of the application is extremely important in the quality engineering, in my opinion. So when you invite just automation engineer who does not want to test and want to code all day long and doesn't know the context of the application that much, all it wants is just, hey, give me the test cases that I automate. Yes, it works like that in many companies, but in my opinion, it's significantly better approach if the engineer who responsible in charge of testing the particular application would also automate his regression efforts to speed up his work. And then you take a no-code, low-code tool, any on the market, you onboard this tool, you pay some fee, of course, you pay some price. Automation is expensive. It's not that it can be cheap with any approach, open source or not open source. So you pay the certain price, you train your team, and it's significantly easier learning curve for the manual engineers with a no-code tool because you don't need to know how to write the script. And you have automation.
You actually brought up really good points. So bottom line, I think it's misconceptions and misunderstanding of many actually managers, right? An approach
Right.
for automation. Because think that this way, automation is actually a development, and you should be treated as a development, not a, oh, you do ticket validation, and on the side, if you have free time, automate.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we're talking about the scripting tools like Cypress or Playwright, it's absolutely development work and requires skills and time allocation.
Requires skills, time allocation, and also the same way you have to have a design, right? You have to think through, because as you just said, if you just give to a developer automate this, he just needs the requirements, then very solid requirements. He won't be most of the time. They won't be going and do the meaningful from business perspective test cases, or not test cases, the
Scenarios.
scenarios that he actually will be doing the test cases, which could be meaningless and not meaningful. And again, this is so in this case, then testers become business analysts in this case, right? They are then a client for developer who will be writing the automation for those.
Right.
And that means it will triple, if not quadruple, your cost of writing the really solid, robust automation.
Yes. And on the top of that, I want to add interesting thing like metrics of success of automation framework. Some companies say, hey, we have 96% pass rate, and it means that we can release. Why? Why not 100? How do you know that single test out of 300 or 400 is not that important that actually have to be caught and so on? And another thing is, if you run the test, your pipeline fail with automated test, and developers like that pipeline failed again, with the meaning that something wrong with the test again. Application is fine. Your automation is just piece of smelly kind of stuff. That the problem. So if development team do not trust your automation framework, you have zero automation in your company.
Yeah.
Many do not realize that. But if development team ignores the result of automation test suite, you have zero automation. It's better to have 10 test cases that development team will rely on, which are reliable and fails only when the actually application fails, than having 100 test cases with 96% pass rate.
Yeah.
The value. So
Yeah.
compare the value, right?
So in other words, that we can conclude all these things that we were just talking about, the requirements for automation, the building the automation by engineers, but having really good requirements, having really good, it's actually a software.
It's software.
It's software. It's nothing else, right? Then go if you don't have this capacity to maintain, if you don't, and maintenance as well, right? If
Oh,
you don't
maintenance is
exactly, if you don't want to have a new principal engineer or a new architect would come and rebuild a new tool for you, and losing the previous 2 years of just go then with already existing tools. Uh, and I think low code, no code tools are actually
absolutely good
good solution.
alternative. Yeah, I seriously think that no code, low code tool is a good alternative for those kind of situations. So if the company cannot afford paying for the highly skilled automation engineers, maybe dedicated team of engineers using open source framework, it makes more sense to onboard low code, no code tool, train the team to the best practices of that particular tool, how to use that tool right, because every tool is different and you need to use the best practices of that particular tool, and then just go with it. And when quality engineer, not automation, just quality engineer, automated half of its regression work related to the project, when it leaves the company, the new one comes, it will be easier to train this person to pick up where the previous engineer left, because again, learning curve is so much easier. And for the company, it will not be that expensive to pay for this kind of engineer. It's twice cheaper than hiring senior automation engineer with a Playwright versus hiring manual quality analyst.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we already touched this, but I think this is very good topic because this is a very big misconception when
Right?
managers thinks that, oh, I have a QA team who are doing the ticket validations, who are supporting the releases by testing it. They will just automate on the free time.
Exactly.
This is the biggest misleading, and it's usually comes to nothing.
And as a result, automation always falls behind
Yeah, yeah.
in that situation.
So two approaches. You either take it seriously and treat it as a development with all procedures, with all requirements, and good expectations, right? Not good, but with the right expectations.
Right.
Or if you don't have this capacity, budget, and the size of the team to scale, then you go with a low code, no code solution.
Mhm.
Use it and be more efficient. And the whole entire team is actually building this tool instead of your three and a half QA manual testers
And you know what?
who doesn't really know how to code, and that's another problem, right?
It's another problem. Exactly.
It's like, okay, let's give an accountant and let accountants build their own tools on their free time besides the accountant.
Yeah, because the manager said, okay, the manager said, then I need to figure out something. And then this person figure out something. On paper, it is exist, but in reality, it doesn't work. It does not provide the value. And by the way, one more important thing. Remember, we at the beginning, why low code tools are also, I think, a good solution. We talked about earlier about simplicity. Why I like Cypress? Simplicity. So the number of sideways how you can go with different implementation in Cypress is limited than in Playwright. So in Cypress, your chances of creating a mess is a little bit lower than in Playwright. In Playwright, it can be just completely Wild West. When you use a low-code tool, they are even more limited about how much you can go sideways, because the creators of the tool thought about all the different features that you might need to automate the scenarios and already implemented that into the solution. You just use it and use it the way how it is designed. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't recreate your own stuff. Don't create your own helpers, functions, I don't know, different helper classes or whatever stuff. It's already created. Just learn how to use what is done and use it. And the low-code tool is also advantage because of that. If you hire a not very experienced engineer for the role to automate with low-code tool, and it will not learn well that framework, it will not be able to mess the automation a lot just because there are not many opportunities to do things wrong. And this is also advantage. That's advantage for the company. So if something was messed up, then the other person will be able quickly to reorganize, fix something, modify the steps, and so on. But if something went too far with a coding tool such as Playwright, very often the only right decision would be we need to start from scratch because this stuff is just not possible to unwind. Yeah.
And since we already touched this, can you tell a little bit more about the course that you was building for testRigor? What kind of tool is this? And
Mhm.
again, when you should use it?
Yeah, so testRigor is my first framework about no code tool. And so basically how it works, just in a few simple words. Everything runs in your browser, so you don't need to install anything on your computer, don't need to set up development environment or anything like that. You just open the browser, go to testRigor, and here we go. The framework is in your browser. Everything is executed somewhere in the cloud on testRigor side, so they manage all this browsers, instances, machines, where to run, and so on. All you do is write using the prompts with using the language and recommended words to interact with the framework. So providing the exact commands, what you want to do in the particular step. And it looks like a normal human language. For example, click button, sign in, type password below password field. And you type the clear sentences like that, and you perform the automation step by step. And when you follow those way of scripting of writing the prompts, testRigor will understand what you want to do and just do it. So that's it. So simple. You just click around the button, it executes your test, provide you the result. You can look the logs, you can see the screenshots, you can watch the result of test execution, all that fun stuff. And also, there are ways to reuse your code, create things called reusable rules, as they call it. If you coming from the world of scripting language, think about it as a page object model, right? So when you group the repetitive function into the more smaller reusable components, and then you reuse those components inside of the test to avoid copy pasting of your prompts. So for the repetitive operations and many other things like that, testRigor handles for you automatically. You just tell, okay, I want to go here, do this, do that, generate the random data, paste some email, do something, and it just works. So that's it. So simple. Yeah.
So, again, I think we touch here two different perspective, right? One is from decision maker, like
Mm-hmm.
engineer managers, QA
Mm-hmm.
managers, and another one from the engineers perspective or QA
Mm-hmm.
engineers, right? So if you are engineer manager with a small size of the team, at this moment, I think it's better to go with a low code, no code solution. Just trust to development team of those tool makers, the robust team, right? Instead of giving your QE additional work to become developers, and probably not the highest quality developers, right? On the other hand, for engineers, yes, you will start with whatever requirements it is, but from the career perspective, probably a high paid skill would be learn Playwright, learn Cypress, or basically the coding, the dev stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you from the student perspective. So when you think about which skills to obtain, If your goal is to have a higher salary, then you need to embrace the tool, which is more complex. And those tools are coding, scripting tools. But I can tell you that's not the case for all quality engineers. I worked with a lot of people over my career who don't want to do automation, who are completely fine where they are, and they enjoy doing quality analysts, quality assurance without touching the code, even if they can. I work with some people in my previous company who can write the script. They can write Cypress code. They can do automate API testing. They have those skills. They just don't like it, don't want it for whatever internal reason. We all different. Someone like to write the code all day long, someone not. Someone likes looking the bugs all day long during exploratory testing, those kind of things. So this is very individual stuff. If your goal is just to have more money, yeah, go and learn how to write the code. But if you do it only because of the money, but not because you like it, you most likely gonna fail, because eventually you will have internal dissonance and maybe depression even, or something like that. So if you have to do something that you don't like to do, you'll not survive too long in this area. But on the other side, if we talk about AI, I think that future quality engineers will be not those who write Playwright code.
Yeah,
Future
I agree.
quality engineers would be those who understand the context well, who know where to test, how to test, and how to interact with AI-based systems to automate the regression. This is what I think what's going to happen in 5, maybe 10 years. I think all frameworks eventually, so look at the progression of the evolution of the automation frameworks. So we started with Selenium. Selenium was just library, bare library to interact with the browser. You need to create a bunch of setup. You need to connect the language. You need to find some test framework like JUnit or TestNG or something. Then you need to handle the WebDriver, download this WebDriver time to time because it's out of sync with the version of your browser, and a lot of moving parts that you need to connect together to finally trigger your automation. Selenium, great, remember that? All connect
Yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah,
Then 2019, Cypress, finally, all in one package. NPM install Cypress, boom, you have framework. You don't need anything else. Just single tool out of the box, write the code. Then Playwright, 2020. And the next evolution with the rise of AI over the past year will be the tools where you don't write the code anymore, you write the prompts. And the tool will understand what you want and will just automate it for you. I will not be surprised if Microsoft will move to that direction in the nearest future. So they figure out Playwright, right? Microsoft has a share in OpenAI. Microsoft rolled out Copilot. Why they cannot connect those things together? They probably
yeah,
can.
yeah, definitely.
They
And
probably can. In my opinion, the automation, the test engineer of future who will make more money than coder is those who understand the context and who can embrace the AI. This is what I think. Who will
yeah,
be confident working with AI, knowing how to provide the right context to the AI, knowing how to write the right prompts to AI, delivering the automation output. That's it.
yeah, I think this is a very good conclusion, and I agree with you exactly. And
Yeah,
bottom line, the main goal is to make sure that the product that we're releasing is a quality, has
right. So the
certain
ultimate
qualities.
goal for the business is the product that can be released as fast as possible. It doesn't matter how it was automated. Playwright, Cypress, Selenium,
Yeah.
it doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah.
All matters just the quality and how fast it can be done. I'm sure it
Exactly.
will be possible to achieve with the help of AI and the low code tool that will support that. And by the way, speaking of AI in testRigor, just very quick, right? AI also has, testRigor has AI features, generative AI features. One of those, which I find pretty useful, is when you can import your test cases from any test case management system, run this through the AI thing, and it will create for you, based on the written test cases, it will create you automated test cases. So it will translate the test case written on the human language into the testRigor prompts, more understandable to testRigor of the steps that you have to execute. And this speeds up. So first of all, don't expect that it will be ideal from the first attempt. So don't expect that you import 100 test cases, then run the button and it magically works. No, it's not going to happen like that. But AI will make for you a heavy lift of initial import, initial setup of your test cases. And then you go through the test cases one by one. It's just making a revision if the all prompts that were generated by AI works properly. You may need to spend some time on fixing each test individually, making sure that all steps are executed, then refactor all that into the reusable rules and so on. But even now, AI can help to optimize that initial setup of your test suites, which is pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. All right, Artem. I think let's wrap it up. Bottom
Yeah.
line. Yeah. Bottom line for managers and decision makers to implement automation, take it seriously. Don't think that any tester, any QA, even if you hire a automation engineer, he will be handling you the full-blown tool that needs to have actually a really good development team.
Right.
Yeah. And same thing for QA engineers. If you start with the testing, start with low code, no code solution, learn gradually. And if you want to skill up your career, then you have to go for these tools like Playwright and Cypress. Join to Bondar Academy and join also to our, and actually for new people, Artem, I think let's 5 minutes touch this thing. For new people who just started their career, graduates from boot camps, graduates from universities, where should they go? Where should they start? How they can, and this dilemma that without any experience is pretty much almost impossible to get a job because every company is require experience, right?
Yeah, finding the first job is not easy. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So learn skills, join to our program in Credit Hire. We help people without any previous experience, but with skills to go through our 6-week program. To prove their skills, you will be trained and evaluated by engineering managers from FANG companies like Facebook, Amazon, Apple. And we do placement. We do placements with our partner companies. Yeah. For learning skills, go to Bondar Academy. But if you want to get a job, join our program and follow us. Thank you very much, Artem. Thank you.
Thank you, Evgeny, for setting this up. It was a really good talk this Saturday. Today is Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, thanks again for setting this up and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.